All right, everyone, good evening. I have 8 o'clock on my end, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And I want to welcome everyone to our virtual leadership conference this evening. And thank you to all the chapter advisors and student leaders for joining us this evening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. There's a PowerPoint that we'll be following. So our plan this evening, we have some of our board members who are presenting on various leadership topics this evening. We're looking at roughly 3 15-minute presentations by 3 different individuals and groups of individuals, and then save the last 15 minutes for some Q&A. So if during the presentation a question comes to mind, feel free to share it in the chat box, or I can call on you. I'm going to serve as the moderator. I can call on you and you can ask your question live if you want to direct it to one of the presenters specifically, or just put it out there. Or if you want to share something that your chapter is doing, that's what we want to leave that time at the end for that. My name's Dr. David Lorenzi, and I am the Executive Director of Phi Epsilon Kappa. I also serve as a chapter advisor at my university, which is Indiana University of Pennsylvania. And again, I'm glad that you're with us this evening. So we've titled tonight's workshop Leading with Purpose. So hopefully you'll walk away with some new ideas that you can take to your chapter and implement. So our first presenters are going to be Dr. Ann Hickey and Dr. Kathy Houston Wilson. Both women are past presidents of Phi Epsilon Kappa. Dr. Hickey is the current past president, and both women have served as a chapter advisor as well. So Dr. Hickey and Dr. Houston Wilson, I will turn it over to you, and I'll manage the slideshow for you. Just let me know when you want to move on.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Can you hear me, David?
Yes.
Okay, for some reason I can't show myself in that little window though. Okay. I don't know what to do about that. But anyway, I just want to welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is a great turnout, and we're happy to have you all here. So we've all broken this down into individual slides. I'm going to take the first couple and then turn it over to my colleague. So the first thing I just want to talk a little bit about is how Phi Epsilon Kappa can provide you with tons of opportunities for leadership. As students, you're getting ready for your professional career, and anything you can do to set yourself up to kind of distinguish yourself from others, Phi Epsilon Kappa is a great way to do that. So when you become a member of Phi Epsilon Kappa, within your own chapter, you should have some type of leadership structure. And I'm going to talk about the officers and advisors in my next slide, but I assume that all of you have, and if you don't, I'm going to encourage you to create a structure within your organization so that people can be mentored to take on additional leadership as they, progress through their career. So those are one things that you could do. Sometimes you might have a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer at the very least, but you should also consider other ways to involve your members. You can create activity leaders for any types of activities that you all might engage in, and just be super creative, because the more leadership you can give to people, the more vested they feel in the organization. Another nice thing about Phi Epsilon Kappa is it allows you to engage with your classmates, trying to get them riled up to be members, trying to determine activities that you all want to do and participate in. And all of that, yields a lot of camaraderie amongst you. And also you get to work within your department maybe with your chair of your department, definitely with your chapter advisor, some of your faculty members. So you start to get to know your faculty and they get to know you on a different level when you're involved in these types of activities. And in addition, you may work with your whole entire college and get to know like the administrators and so on, presidents, vice presidents, provosts, all by being involved in these types of activities, depending on, how active your chapter is and the types of activities that you like to do. And also you get to mentor each other. And when you're an upperclassman, you can be mentoring, some of the students below you to prepare them for these leadership roles as well. So those are some of the great kind of things that Phi Epsilon Kappa can do for you. So we could go to the next slide. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is the roles of the various officers. Now, each of you should probably have some type of a bylaws. Your chapter should have bylaws that actually spell out in very detail what each person does. So like I said, at the very least, you want to have a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. Like those are the main officers that you would need to have. And then, like I said, you could have activity leaders for some of the things that you're trying to do in your chapter. In terms of what are the roles and responsibilities for each, I mean, it could vary per chapter, but distinguishing and delineating those roles and responsibilities would be really important. So again, I encourage you to have bylaws. At the very least, some of the things that you have to do on a regular basis is coordinate and collaborate with your chapter advisor. So as a student, you spend, 4 or 5 years at your college or university, but your chapter advisor is going to be there consistently. And so we need to have great coordination because they're going to keep the chapter moving along year after year. And, depending on the leadership of the officers really helps to determine how sustainable your chapter is going to be. So coordinating, collaborating with your advisor, organizing meetings, how often, what are you going to talk about, what type of follow-up. And like last year when everything had to be on Zoom and everything, were you able to have meetings via Zoom? Now, hopefully you're face-to-face. How often are you meeting? What are you doing with them? And so on. And it's always good if you are going to have meetings, to try to maybe bring some refreshments and things like that to make sure people get there. If students can't get there, how do you follow up with them in terms of, do you post minutes somewhere? Where do students know to go? Is there a bulletin board, et cetera? Another thing is organizing events. Hopefully you're engaged in like fundraising events, charity events. Maybe you do some activities that allow your whole group to kind of get together, go to a basketball game or something like that. And very importantly is you will plan the induction ceremony. We're going to have a slide about the induction ceremony later, but that's a very important role that the officers take on. Obviously, I can't talk about every single thing that you do, but these are just some generalized things. In terms of your chapter advisor, they assist with really all aspects of the chapter. They really have to ensure consistency and carryover from year to year. So we can't stress enough the direct role that each of you play in your chapter. Another thing faculty members do is they promote their chapter with their college administrators. We make sure at our school that our administrators, know that these students should get honor cords and they're recognized at graduation and things like that. Assist the chapter with any type of protocols that they need to follow. If they want to host an event, who do they have to see? What forms do they have to fill out? And so on. Help to recruit and mentor student leaders. And to serve as a liaison between your chapter and the national office. So your faculty advisor helps to establish who's going to get awards, helps you to go to conferences and get recognized and so on. So those are, again, just a few snapshots of what a chapter advisor, could do. Next one. And then in terms of recruitment, it would be very important for you as the leadership team to determine, and along with your faculty member, what are your qualifications for membership? I know at Brockport, we use a GPA of a 3.0. You might consider something differently. You have to hopefully recruit people who are willing to volunteer for activities because, again, giving back to the community is a huge part of being a member of Phi Epsilon Kappa. So it's not just about joining Phi Epsilon Kappa and getting a certificate and being like, oh, I could put this on my resume. It's really about participating in activities to really promote the mission of Phi Epsilon Kappa. Try to consider being very inclusive of any majors that relate to physical activity, sport management, exercise science, physical education, athletic training, you name it. Any of those types of majors should be invited to join Phi Epsilon Kappa. And then you should determine methods for communicating regarding membership in the chapter, like email, blast, social media announcements, so people know about it. So those are things that are really important to do. And then really showcase your organization. Maybe you have a bulletin board where you post things, you put pictures up and things like that so people know about it. And to try to do a really good recruitment thing, I would hold an informational meeting where, let's say you send a blast message out to all the kids in your department and you offer food, and then you go over what it's all about. And every time you do any type of in-face meeting, you should have some type of follow-up on an email or, some type of a team link or something where people can get the information if they're not able to attend a meeting. So I know I went a little fast because I know there's a lot more people and I don't want to hog all the time. But at the end, if we have questions about anything that we talked about, we could come back. So now I'm going to turn it over to Anne. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kathy. So I am following up. We just talked about recruitment. So once we've recruited our members, now how do we keep our members active? So as we look at retention, communication is going to continue to be key, making sure that we keep our members engaged, that we keep them in the know, and figuring out what that best mode of communication is for your chapter, whether it's email or any type of messaging app. I know with my chapter, we started using the Slack app. You can have different channels on the app, so you can organize your meeting minutes. You can send group messages, individual messages. You could have certain channels that are kind of protected. So figuring out what works for your chapter. I know I've had students tell me that they get so many emails that they don't read them so much. So figuring out what works for kind of your chapter, or kind of hitting your members with multiple forms of communication just to make sure that they get that important information, and how to send out reminders. Again, I know as students, you're very busy. You might be involved in other organizations or athletics or work, and of course, classes. So, figuring out what the best system is for reminders so that everyone knows the different activities going on or when meetings are. And I know we'll have another slide coming up later that looks into much more detail about communication, but here just making sure that we use communication as a way to help retain our members. And as we look at meetings, making sure that the meetings have a purpose, that will help make sure that our members will attend our meetings. We want to make sure they are efficient. Again, as you are very busy, you want to make sure you're using your time efficiently, and that your time is valuable. So as you kind of have your meetings, making sure that you have your agenda set so that you can take care of business, making sure that everyone stays informed, and then making sure that everyone is on that same page. And then another kind of part of retention is having those activities. So, right, we are a professional organization, but we like to have fun, right? So having some of those social activities, this can be a way to help to get to know your members. And as you get to know your members better, then people will want to keep coming around, even if it's activities. I know my chapter, we've gone hiking in the past, or stand-up paddleboard surfing out here on the West Coast. We do have the ocean near us, so that's helpful for us, or a bonfire. Other types of activities that would benefit your chapters, fundraising activities, so that you can host some of these activities, or community service projects. You might need funding for those. So hosting fundraising activities. We are a service organization, so making sure that we are participating in community service, figuring out kind of what organizations you want to kind of help as we look back towards our kind of ideals and pillars of the fraternity. Of course, physical education and knowledge, and our pillars of peace, friendship, and brotherly love, and that we can help promote these through our different activities. Next slide. And so then looking more specifically at event planning and implementation, It's helpful to connect with various organizations. There might be organizations on your campus that can help you connect with the community. There might be other student organizations you can partner with for various activities, maybe various athletic teams that you might partner with to help pull off some of these events. You might partner with individuals or businesses in your local community. This can help, particularly fundraisers. I know my chapter has done some fundraisers with local food places. They give us a percentage of the food sales. So that's a great way to kind of help raise some money for your chapters. Another fundraiser we've done is at one of our football games. We've done a 50-50 raffle. So a lot of different ideas, but again, just making sure that you have some funds so you can host some other events. Maybe reaching out to local schools, elementary schools. A lot of times when school budgets are cut, physical education is cut. So I know at my school, we had some of our students go to a local elementary school a couple days a week to teach PE classes. So another way to kind of give back. And finally, the national organizations, maybe partnering with Special Olympics or Relay for Life as a way to help kind of promote your chapter, but also get the members engaged and involved in service. As you're engaged in these activities, making sure that you're advertising these activities, again, as a way to get your chapter kind of noticed. So that could be a way to help recruit new members as well. And making sure that everyone knows kind of what is going on, whether it's through social media. And we'll have another presentation later that looks at much more detail, at social media, much more detail. And then finally, making sure that an event runs smoothly, whether you use some type of checklist for an event, just to make sure that you're not missing anything or forgetting anything. Having some type of a checklist and everyone knows kind of what their role is can help get more people involved in that event and to help make sure that event runs smoothly. Next slide. And then finally, our induction ceremony. So shout out to my members who I know are on the workshop. This is from our induction ceremony this past fall. And so with the ceremony, really this sets the stage for the new members within your chapter. So it is an important ceremony. This is really their kind of induction into the organization. Once they've kind of officially been inducted, they've taken the oath of membership. So it's important to kind of set the tone for this ceremony, choosing the location that you want for your ceremony, how you want to dress for the ceremony. I know for my chapter, we always have a business casual dress code that makes it a little more kind of professional for a ceremony. And practicing the script, right? We have a script for the ceremony. And a way to help make the ceremony run a little bit smoother, sound a little bit more professional, making sure that you practice the script. It just makes it a little more polished for the ceremony. And then once the ceremony has been completed, having something after the ceremony, using this time as a kind of get to know the new members, a time to mix and mingle. Whether you can have refreshments, a cake, cupcakes, something to kind of celebrate this achievement and kind of welcome the new members into your organization. And I will pass it off from here. Thank you.
All right, thank you both, Dr. Hickey and Dr. Houston Wilson. That was very good. Good information. Our next presentation is going to deal more in greater detail with the communication issue. And I'd like to introduce Mr. Eric Sandler from SUNY Brockport. Eric is a recent addition to our board of directors. We're glad to have him on board. And Eric, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, thanks for everyone for joining us this evening. Really wanted to just take the opportunity to give a quick disclaimer before we get moving, to let everybody know kind of, if you had 10 different versions of me up here tonight, you would get 10 slightly different versions of this presentation. And that's one of the beauties of it. One of the awesome pieces of it is that when we start talking about effective communication and communication styles and personality styles, there are so many different pieces of information out there. So my goal or my hope is that everybody can walk away tonight with at least one little piece of information that kind of helps them move forward with what they do. So we can go ahead and start to run through this here. I have a couple of things that I want you to think about as kind of like a pre-talk think, right? And so the first thing to think about as we're getting ready to run through this here is that none of us are perfect communicators. We all can get better. I know personally, I can tell you that when I was a new professional, straight out of grad school, first jobs, just getting started, I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And it largely had to do with the style and way that I was communicating with other people. And so that kind of drove me into some continuing development, professional development on the communication side of the house. And a lot of the things that we're going to talk about tonight are things that I've picked up throughout the time that's really helped me evolve as a person and as a communicator. Other things to think about as we're getting started here: what makes for effective communication, right? And whenever you throw this out to a crowd, you throw this out to an audience, common things come back, right? Oh, they're always so well thought with their words, right? They eloquently always have the right thing to say at the right time. Or, some people will come back to it's the properly written email, right? Dear sir or ma'am. And then it's got the text body and it's always, cheers at the bottom. And that's effective communication as well. Other people, effective communication is being very clear with your objectives and your expectations. And, we're going to do this and we're going to do this by that date and those types of things. The last thing I want you to think about as we're getting rolling here, think about a professional connection that you have made at college, right? So if you're a current student, think about your current situation. If you're an advisor, think about the colleagues that you work with. Think about that professional connection that you've made. Why did you and that other person click? What was it about your interactions with that other person that led you wanting to spend more time with them, to be around them more, to interact with them more, to communicate with them more? And the most common answer to those questions comes down to the fact that they spoke your language. And I'm not talking about like I speak English, you speak English, or I speak Spanish, you speak Spanish. We're talking about the fact that we were able to make a genuine connection, that they were able to communicate with you in a way that made you have that light bulb moment, that aha moment type idea. So we can go ahead to the next slide here. And I need everybody to do me a favor. Down at the very bottom of your screen is the chat function. Pop that open for me. All right, so at the very bottom of your screen, you've got the chat function. There are 4 statements up on the board, right? Wouldn't hurt a fly, life of the party, business before pleasure, facts and nothing but the facts. Spam the heck out of this chat for me. Pick one of those that you feel most applies to you. If you had to describe yourself as one of those 4 things, which one would you pick? Fly it through the chat. All right, life of the party. I got a business before pleasure coming through. Business before pleasure, business before pleasure. Sounds like a lot of similar folks. Wouldn't hurt a fly. Life of the party, business before pleasure, facts, nothing but the facts, more life of the party people, right? All sorts of stuff. This is awesome. We got a bunch of different people in the room here. And that's awesome. I appreciate that. And that's awesome here. And they just keep rolling in and rolling in. This is good. All right, David, you go ahead and slide to the next one here as those keep flying through here. As we talk about this here, one of the things is going to kind of be a theme of the next 4 or 5 slides here that I run through with you is going to be concepts of sociability and dominance. Sociability is going to talk about our desire for human connection. If anything, the pandemic for the last 2 years has taught us a lot about our sociability levels. Some of us, the pandemic was terrible, right? We were stuck at home. We were stuck behind computer screens, and we just craved this. I need to see other people. I need to get outside more of my 4 walls, and I need to go find another human being to go make a connection with. And then for some of us, the pandemic was like, you mean I can stay at home in my jammy jams and I can like just get behind my screen and like, this is awesome. You mean I don't have to go out and, go to the grocery store. I can just order stuff and have it sent home. I don't have to deal with other people. This is awesome. And so sociability really talks about that desire or that craving or that need for human connection. And then dominance talks about our desire for making decisions. Some of us really enjoy being a part of that decision process. Some of us like making those decisions. And then other people are perfectly okay with, hey, you guys handle that, make your decisions, let me know what you need from me as we all kind of move forward. So we can go ahead and slide to the next one there, David. Awesome. So let's talk about each of those statements, right? I gave you a wouldn't hurt a fly, business before pleasure, life of the party, facts and nothing but the facts. So let's talk about each one of those real quick here in terms of who they are and some of the key characteristics to communicating better with these individuals. So first one here is wouldn't hurt a fly. Another way of terming this would be that these people are what we would call relators. These people have high sociability and lower levels of dominance, meaning that these people are going to crave a human connection or what we consider a people-oriented person. People that we would classify as a wouldn't hurt a fly, they love in-person visits. They love it when you knock on the door and you have a seat in their office, not standing in the doorway, leaning in, going, hey, how you doing? Here's what I need from you. No, come in, sit down in the office, put your feet up, take your coat off, hang out for a little bit. How's your family? How are the Buffalo Bills doing? Did you watch the game last night? This, that, and the other thing. Do you have any vacations coming up? And then let's get down to business, right? And so they enjoy that, 3 to 5 minute, debrief, build that relationship, build that connection, and then let's get after it, right? We talked about the fact that they were also on the lower side of dominance, meaning that in general, they avoid decision-making. And the example that I use here is my wife. My wife is a wouldn't hurt a fly. She is this to a T. When you start looking at the description here, and I'll ask her, I'm like, it's Saturday night. Let's go out to dinner. Where do you want to go? And it's the same response all the time. I don't care. I don't know. You pick, right? And it's not because she doesn't care. It's not because she doesn't know. She knows exactly what she wants, and she does care about what food she eats. But it's because she knows that I care about the decision, and she doesn't want to hurt my feelings by, hey, I want to go to Applebee's. And I'm thinking, I didn't really want to do that. And she doesn't want to offend me. She doesn't want to hurt my feelings. And so she's a little bit more go with the flow and those types of things. We can go ahead to the next one here. So the next one is life of the party. These people are what we would classify as the socializer. These people have high levels of sociability and high levels of dominance, meaning that they crave that human connection, just like we talked about with the last group. But the difference here is now these folks want to be part of that decision-making process. And so these folks, if decisions are made, but they weren't asked for their opinion on that decision, they may get offended. And so when you're dealing with people that you would classify as a life of the party, as a socializer, make sure that you are including them and getting their thoughts, their feedback before making decisions to keep them engaged in that decision-making process. Also, because of their people-orientedness, they often take a community approach to decision-making. So for example, we go back to, hey, we're going to go out to eat. Where should we go? They're going to be the people that want to, hey, where do you want to go? 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 Ultimately, they're okay with making the decision, but they've kind of given everybody in that group the opportunity to have their voice heard. We can go ahead and go to the next one here. Business before pleasure. I saw a bunch of these coming through the chat here. Business before pleasure. These are the directors. These folks typically have lower levels of sociability with those higher levels of dominance. And so instead of being people-oriented, we are most often task-oriented. These people love lists and crossing things off of them. I got to do this, I got to do that, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. And they love at the end of the day when they can go, man, I could accomplish this today. I got this done. I got that done. That makes them happy. And so these folks often prefer quicker communication so that they can get back to what it is that they're working on. They love email. They love text messaging. They like it when you knock on the door, go, hey, can you take care of this for me? And then you leave. And so oftentimes they are task oriented. Like I said, they want to get done what needs to get done. And maybe are a little bit less concerned about whether you're a Bills fan, Packers fan, Cowboys fan, with what's going on. These folks also enjoy being part of the decision-making process. So again, if you're working with somebody that you would classify as a business before pleasure, they need and want to be part of the decision-making process. And again, if they are not part of that process, oftentimes they will have their feelings hurt. However, one of the drawbacks to the way that business before pleasure folks often make decisions is that, again, they like getting things done. They like crossing things off of their list. So oftentimes they make decisions based on what they feel is the right answer, maybe without getting that feedback from other folks. And so sometimes, again, because they want to get this done, I want to get this off my plate, I want to get moving on to the next thing, they don't always take the time to get that feedback from the group, which can sometimes lead to people in the group maybe not being so happy with the decisions that are being made. And we can head off to the last group here, talking about facts and nothing but the facts. These are our analyzers. These are your lower sociability and lower dominance here. These are your task-oriented people. So the exact same thing we just talked about with business before pleasure. The difference here comes with their dominant side of the house. In general, any decision-making that they're going to be a part of is going to be very objective based. It's going to have research behind it. It's going to be backed by evidence. They're going to want to see the data behind something before acting on things that they do. All right, so you can go ahead and slide us to the next one here. So one more time, I'm going to ask you to spam the chat here. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about somebody that you communicate with regularly. This might be a parent. This might be your academic advisor. This might be a faculty member. This might be a work colleague. This might be your supervisor. This might be a coach. I don't care. Somebody, pick anybody. And which of those 4 words would describe them? So in the chat box, one more time, coach, life of the party, or teacher, business before pleasure. Think about who it is that you would think about that you regularly communicate with and classify them for me. So you don't need names or anything like that, but just, parent, wouldn't hurt a fly. Hit me with the chat box. Let's see what we got here. Classify somebody else. Originally, I asked you to classify yourself. Now I want you to classify somebody else. All right. So again, go ahead and spam through that chat folder here for me. You got some facts. You got some business before pleasures coming through here. All right. And as those kind of file through, David, we can go ahead and do the next one here and keep this party rolling here. So the reason why I just had you do that, the reason why I had you just spam that folder a second time there is to remind you that it's not about you, it's about them. When we talk about effective communications, it doesn't matter what type of communication works for you. It's about thinking about them and what is going to be most effective when you're trying to reach and build a connection with them on their side of the house. And so we need to think about them. Think about if you are dealing with somebody that you would classify as a life of the party, or you would think of somebody that you're communicating with somebody that is a wouldn't hurt a fly. You know what? Get away from your desk. Don't send them that email. Get off the desk, walk down to their office, go knock on the door, ask them how their kids are. Go ask them, hey, we only got a couple weeks left in the semester. Any vacations coming up this summer? Any big plans for the summer? And then let's chat about what we got going on. Build that connection with them in that way. And vice versa, if you're dealing with somebody that's a little bit more business before pleasure, hey, shoot them that email, and communicate with them that way, because that's going to be what's most effective for them. So again, it doesn't matter who you are and what works for you. You need to individually tailor your communication and how you are handling things based on the person that you are intending to receive that communication. Awesome. You can kind of slide us through here. It wouldn't be a communication, handout here. It wouldn't be a communication talk here if we didn't at least have some sort of a list at the end of some best practices here. And again, if you Google search this stuff, you'll see there's 8,000 best practices that are out there. I picked some of the ones that I have found to be some of the most important ones throughout my career. One is that there is no such thing as over communication. I have never had somebody that came up to me and was like, oh, dude, you're driving me nuts. Would you just stop letting me know what's going on? Nope, never happens, right? You always have the people that are upset of, what do you mean this? All of a sudden it happens at the last second and this, that, and the other thing. So there is no such thing as over communication. If you do something live, follow it up, communicate again, communicate again, communicate again. Another one that's a big one here is no surprises up or down the chain. Nobody likes surprises. Again, I've never, walked into a classroom that I taught, hey guys, we're going to have a pop quiz today. And everyone jumps up and down. It's like, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think? No, nobody likes surprises, right? Everyone likes to be able to prepare. Everyone likes to know what's going on. There is nothing more frustrating than getting that email of, hey, what's going on with this? And you have no idea what that is pertaining to. So no surprises up or down the chain. If you are a chapter advisor, make sure that your administration knows what's going on. Make sure that your student leadership team knows what's going on, and everywhere up and down that chain, that there are no surprises with what's going on. Follow up any verbal communication with written ones. If you have a hallway conversation with somebody, you're walking up and down the hallway, you catch somebody, and you're like, oh, hey, don't forget about this. We were going to set this up. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And you have a really, really productive conversation. Some of the best conversations I have, some of the most productive ones I have are those, impromptu water cooler, type conversations. but then follow them up with an email. Follow them up with some sort of a written communication that goes, hey, it was great seeing you in the hallway yesterday. I think we had a very productive talk. Don't forget, we talked about this, and this, and that we were going to do this by that date. And then it puts it in writing, and there's a tracking record of that conversation, and allows both of you to not forget all of the great things that you just talked about. Another thing is to be present. When you're running meetings, when you are doing things that you do here with your groups, to be present. That means silencing your phone. That means putting things away. That means taking notes, asking questions, being a part of the conversation, being an active part of the conversation is very important. And the last one there in terms of best practice is just talking about responding timely. There should be a maximum of 24-hour response time on anything that you get, even if it's just a, hey, I got your email. Thank you. I will get back to you. Let me look into it. Even if it's just as simple as that, to confirm, hey, I saw you reached out. I'm acknowledging that I've received it. I've got to do some work. Let me get back to you on that. And that's a perfectly acceptable response, but at least lets the sender know that it's been seen, it's been taken care of, and is being worked on. So thank you for that. If we have questions when we're done, I'll be hanging out. We can do some Q&A stuff here at the end, but I will flip it over to the next group to keep us on time.
All right, thank you, Eric. Great stuff. Our final presentation for this evening is going to be on marketing your chapter, and we have Dr. Daniel Burt. Dr. Burt is a longtime chapter advisor at Texas A&M University at Kingsville, and a recent addition to our board of directors. Again, we're glad to have him. And Dr. Burt, I will turn it over to you.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I've been in meetings all day, so I'm going to try not to lose my voice in this final bit of a presentation for the day. But going for it, and I don't know, did you give us control or do you have it, David?
I have control. Yeah.
Perfect. Go ahead and move to the next slide for me. So the traditional marketing mix that we talk about a lot of times, and I teach sport management, sport business, as well as kinesiology. I have ADHD, so I couldn't focus, so I specialized in two things during my doctorate. But specializing in sport management, one of the big things we talk about is kind of marketing items and your marketing mix. And the marketing mix traditionally has always been product, price, place, and promotion. And the idea really behind brick and mortar stores and all those things that play a role. However, as we move forward and we're looking at how marketing is taking place now, and I've got friends who own private businesses that completely operate in social media structures only. And how that's really changed in its ability to communicate and work with people. So what we've seen really and this was proposed even before social media really took off. This was proposed as an idea by Lauterborn back when the internet was taking place, that he felt we'd move to digital marketing way before we had real Amazon and most of our ordering formats, before we had Cyber Mondays. And so what we've seen shift here is, instead of product, we really come back to focusing on the consumer. What does the consumer want? What does the consumer need? And this needs to come back to your chapters. What do your students actually need? That's the one thing I can't help you with, is each student and their universities are unique. And what is it they need to best benefit them? Is it professional development? Is it connections to internships? Is it connections to what needs to be showcased that would really benefit them the most? Pricing for profitability was really the key factor a long time ago. And now it comes down to cost, because most people will ask the question, what's it going to cost me? Not what it's valued, what is it going to cost me and can I afford it? And that becomes the next question, is what is it going to cost people to get involved? What else are they getting in when they get something with PEK? What's the involvement worth for them? They're no longer debating, well, it's not that much money, I just check that box. It's, what do I get? Place becomes the next one, and place has absolutely been revolutionized with the fact that most of us don't shop probably predominantly at brick and mortar stores or the location anymore. It becomes more about convenience. How easy is it to do something? I'm not gonna lie, the worst thing that has ever happened was when Amazon finally put an app together on the phone, and my wife discovered it. And so what ends up happening is I find it's like Christmas at least twice a week at my house, where I walk outside and all the boxes are there. Yesterday, my entire what do I say, laundry detergent, soap for the house, everything was delivered to my house because it's on a subscribe and save setup through Amazon now. That's convenient. I don't go to the store. I've not bought paper towels and I don't know, like 4 years. So they just show up once a month and that we're good to go. So convenience becomes key. when we start talking about what's being offered. And that's something that you have to kind of consider asking yourself when you put together chapters, is when you market, how convenient are you making it for people to see what's going on, interact with what's going on? And I'll be honest, I don't talk to a lot of people. I'm an introvert naturally. And yet my engagement in social media makes me look like I'm a very person who likes to engage with people all the time, because it's easy to like something, share something, talk about something, engage in a small conversation that only takes a few minutes of my day. So, and the last one's promotion becomes more about communication. Really, it used to be about promoting and pushing forward with information and really just letting people know where things are, what's going on. Now it becomes more about communication. For years in a row, Starbucks has absolutely been recognized as probably the best when it comes to marketing. And it wasn't because of their ad sales. It was because every time you joked around with them on social media, guess what happened? They joked back. You wrote in and be like, it's my birthday, I didn't get my free coffee. And they'd be like, no problem, we got you. And you'd get a something DM to you via that way. And so that's what those concepts of being interactive. And so we don't always have to have physical chapter meetings. We don't always have to have stuff going on and be present physically in a location all the time. It can be simply just like, hey, chapter advisor decides, let's have a questionnaire. What are things that you're interested in when you get out of the field and what you're wanting to do? And you can have that entire conversation where everyone's home, take a break from Netflix for 10 minutes and shoot stuff around. It's that simple. So communication becomes our key factor as we lead into the marketing mix. So what does social media get used for? And this is built mostly on sport marketing ideas and content that we've seen delivered. Facebook has really still been the major delivery for information. Even the conversation we just had, we had a bunch of independent consultants come in to review our social media at the institution. And they're writing back that individuals who are coming, my daughter's going into that college age now, what do they use is still different from what they use to interact with the institution. And the reason why is they know that when they're interacting with their friends, it's always going to be more about TikTok and Instagram, what's fast, furious, and entertainment value. And at our university, that's what we use Instagram and TikTok for. We typically use it for just pure entertainment. Maybe it's something that's funny, maybe it's something that we want to show off, maybe we just want to tag a music to something because it's well-timed. But Facebook still becomes that key for delivering information. Where is something being held out? What's taking place? Why does it need to occur? And then of course, Twitter is kind of the briefing of that. What brief headlines you can have, what updates you need to get from Twitter, did something change that needs to be updated very quickly. So that's typically how we use ours, that stays within that marketing aspect. And that's pretty much stayed across the board for most companies. A few hiccups as they look for it. So what ends up happening is when we interact with new students, a lot of times it'll be on TikTok or Instagram, but we'll provide links or data to either the website or Facebook so they can get the full details of what we're talking about, say an event coming up or so forth. And there is a bunch of programs, I'm not going to go into details because you can Google it like this, that allow you to intertwine that so you don't have to use them all at once. A great example was the American Kinesiology Association, which I also am on the board with. Just yesterday, we had a webinar and I shot that webinar across live, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So no matter what people were doing, they could find it, they could watch it at their convenience. My chair was leaving a meeting. He opened his Twitter because that's what he likes to use and watched the video walking back from a meeting. Another person I know hopped on YouTube because they don't keep social media accounts because they just are fighting the inevitable. So they just used YouTube because they had access to it. And so keep in mind, there's a lot of options for integration out there now too, if that's something you choose to engage in. Who needs to be engaged? Well, this is pretty much straight up anyone you consider important. And more importantly, even really building out community and promotion. Let people know you're there. Let people know you're engaged. And the reason this matters extremely well is because the fact is your university can't celebrate what you do and how engaged you are without knowing you're there. So it behooves you to actually put these things together, showcase what's going on, putting them out on, even if it's just TikTok and you're putting music to it and you're just enjoying it at the moment. Those are things that the university likes to pick up. That's stuff that we would like to pick up. And that lets us showcase what is going on. We just had one of my undergrad where Phi K takes place. Their Phi K actually showcased off they have a service day that the entire university does. But the Phi K decided to go as a group and band together and showcase that. And they just kind of spit that out and around. And the university picked it up and they showcased it on top of it. And so that not only looks at the option of, hey, we're reaching out to potential people who might come here for school and they can see what we do, potential initiates that could be coming in, but also you never know when you might sit down and be like, hey, we're wanting to do something that's going to take money. And really, this is your chance to showcase off or refer people to what you've been showcasing off to see what you do. And so along with that, there's a lot of other data on here I'm not going to totally go into, but realistically, social media is the way to go. It's been that way for probably close to about 15, 20 years now, as we've gone from Facebook and MySpace, if everyone remembers that, all the way up to now, you know, TikTok and Instagram, which seems to be the main showcasing. Tips in social media. First one, be relevant. Absolutely figure out what's going on. That does not necessarily mean you should automatically today showcase a meme that you just saw involving Will Smith smacking somebody. Do be sensitive to the topic and how you're representing your organization. But if you can find something that's relevant, that's popping on a given day, absolutely use it. Create original content when possible, because people want to see what you actually do, not just showcasing other people's material or changing it memes and so forth. Feel free to be flashy, have fun with it. Our institution just had a ton of shares come out from a women's celebration day for this month that was showcasing, and is a rock version of most of our deans who are female and things like that. And I don't know, it came out of the blue like 3 hours ago. And I just caught it on Facebook and Instagram, but it already has hundreds and hundreds of shares going across other universities at this point, sister universities in the A&M system. So do have a dedicated handler, someone who knows what's going on with it at all times. This may be a student, but I do encourage an oversight from somebody who is a professor, because you do have to answer for what the university gets represented as. So someone needs to answer for that. But someone you can trust who can produce things quickly and quite often. And that does need to be a showcase. Building traction. So it's interesting. So this was put together based on two things. One, I have my tattoo artist makes unridiculous amounts of money and got himself showcased and put on tattoo competitions online and TV due to the fact that he used Instagram effectively. That's what took place. And now he has people flying to do tattoos with him and makes a fortune. So I can't stress this. The key factor for that was tag, tag, tag. Anything you do, tag people. No one can share it if they don't know you're there. So tag us at PEK. Tag, you know, I have our institution, I have our department name, I have our college name up there. I have listed our alumni and our name for our university. Those 5 tags, if I did something 5K, just shoots it out to everybody. And they automatically will see it flag, and then they can choose to share, which most often they will. Look at what people interact with. What's interesting that's taking place now? Is there a common meme that's going around that you can just swipe and in good taste, turn around, go for it? Is there a way to improve content based on interaction? What are people enjoying to interact with? What people don't like to interact with? I've got 3 or 4 people I'm friends with that are creators. They make, you know, about $80,000 or more right now, just playing around on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I wish I figured it out first. But they're the first ones to tell me if they don't have things that get interacted with, they stop doing those things. And they switch over to doing things that people like to interact with, whatever that may be. And so build content people want. And what your key factor is when you're getting people to follow you, enjoy you. Remember, this is not just about you, especially for students. This is about setting up a cohort that will last beyond you and get support for the chapter. So things like demonstrate value. What does your chapter do? Whether it be service days, whether it be engage in the initiation process and so forth. Stand out from everybody else. How do you look different from every club around you that has Greek letters? Capture leads. If something's interesting or there's a great topic or someone you can share with, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely have seen some of our sport management people reach out to Nike, reach out to Adidas based on a topic they thought was relevant and push the topic, get accepted. And one of the guys went on to be a social media coordinator for 3 professional teams and then ran some of the social media for the Super Bowl just from pushing. That's it. That's all I did to start with 3 years ago was push, push, push. Create meaningful engagements. Absolutely. Ask people questions, create polls, get them to give back to you. And then, of course, pile on value. Once you know what people want, give it more to them as much as possible. So the last bit here, and I assume you guys might have access to these PowerPoints afterwards. David, is that going to be the case? Or we can at least mail them out to chapter advisors? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the presentation's being recorded as well.
Perfect. You know, the big thing here is just decide carefully you use this social media. I have more than once seen a grown professor misunderstand which account they are posting to, and they decide to go off on a political commentary. So, or make a comment on something that's going on today. I actually had a conversation with a faculty member, not one of mine, but a different faculty member I'm friends with 2 days ago over something that popped up. I'm like, did you get hacked, or are you just randomly going off on your random department account? And there's a huge whoops on their end. They fixed it. I hope no one saw it, but be very mindful of those little slips and double check triple check everything. Create templates and have policies on how releases are going to set up. Keep in mind, a lot of this stuff can auto release if you take time to plan it out. And so if an event's going on or things that you're going on, you can plan that in advance. And then of course, create a account that's at least monitored by the department or by the people. And it could be just, they have their social media monitoring that social media. If they see something flag, they call, but pick people who use it. I'm a great example of someone who's actually been published on using social media, and I hate using social media. So I'm not the person you want overseeing it. I'm the guy who sits down, looks at the research, puts the content together, talks to people, but I don't enjoy doing that daily. My wife loves sitting there all day, sending out tweets and things like that. She's one of our social media specialists. Me, I don't like doing that. So find the person who loves being that engaged on a regular basis and just feeds on it. And of course, building followers is an everyday process. You have to be active and you have to be feeding people what they want to know about, what they're interested in. So.
All right, Dr. Burt, thank you very much. We do have some time here at the end for some questions and interaction. And then at the very end, before we say goodbye, I do have a couple of quick announcements that I would like to share with the group. So I am going to open it up. If anyone has a question, if you want to raise a hand, I'm going to check in the chat box and see if anything came up in there. Anything you want to share, what your chapter's doing, questions specific to any of the presenters. I would like to mention we have a couple of other board members on the call this evening. We have Dr. Berkey, who is a retired chapter advisor, former president of Phi Epsilon Kappa, and currently serving on the board as treasurer. And we have Dr. Pamela Verhulst, who is also a chapter advisor and a newer member of our board as well. Any questions, comments, anything to share? If not, then I will go into my announcements. So you guys are going to be the first to know, but our new website is going to go live tomorrow, which is a long time coming. The website isn't totally updated yet. There's pages that are going to be changing. The members only section is going to be built out, but I've been going through extensive training. The company we're working with, it's not just a website, it's a membership management system and a financial management system. So basically what we'll be able to do starting tomorrow, every member of Phi Epsilon Kappa is going to get a welcome email with directions on creating your online profile. And for the first time in the history of this organization, we're going to be able to communicate directly with every member. Up to this point, we've been relying on you as chapter advisors to disseminate information to students. This is going to allow us to communicate with students who've graduated, who are now professionals. And the financial side of it, we are going to be able to collect payment via debit credit card online. So for chapter advisors, when you submit your PEK new member reports, I will invoice you, and that invoice will have an option to mail in a check like we have been doing. And it will also have an option for an online payment. And then when individual memberships are going to expire, they will receive an automatic email asking them if they want to renew, again, with an option of an online payment or to mail a check. So super excited about it and really looking forward to that. So at least that part of it is going to launch tomorrow. As I said, the website, keep checking back, is going to be a bit of a work in progress as I'm getting to each page and getting updated information. One of the first things I'll be updating is the active and inactive chapter list that has been very outdated from the old website. So we have given all chapters till this May. We gave a 2-year grace period due to COVID to get their chapters active. So at the end of this academic year, I'll have an accurate count of what chapters are going to remain in the active status and which ones are moving to the inactive status. The next phase of this is going to go along with what Dr. Burt was just talking about, increasing our social media presence. You can help with that. I would encourage any of you to post activities that your chapter is doing. Take pictures if you're doing a community service project, upload them to Facebook, to Twitter, to Instagram, and we will certainly be pushing out more content as well as I get a handle and wrap my head around all the moving parts to this. And then finally, what we did this evening, we're planning more of this. So chapter advisors, expect to see maybe towards the end of the summer, as we're planning to return in the fall, maybe a short little survey asking what type of content you would like for these workshops. We did a specific workshop in the fall just for chapter advisors. We will be continuing that and especially encouraging new chapter advisors to attend that. That's going to kind of serve as an orientation for new chapter advisors and a chance for chapter advisors to get together and interact. And then definitely what we did this evening, where we invite the student leaders and do some leadership. I know Dr. Berkey and myself are involved with the National Academy of Health and Physical Literacy. We just officially became a partner with them, and they would like to partner with us on some professional development for future professionals. So we may be inviting their future professionals to interact with our future professionals. So those are some of the things in the hopper, some ideas that the board's been kicking around. But we will be meeting over the summer for our annual planning meeting, and we'll start to plan out the next academic year. So if you have any ideas, please reach out to me. There's going to be a new email address announced for the fraternity. So the old dlorenzi@phi-epsilon-kappa.org is now inactive. I've been using my school email, which has been a borderline nightmare, trying to keep everything separate, the fraternity and my work stuff. So I'm going to be glad to switch over to a new dedicated email that's going to go along with the website. So that'll be announced. It'll be posted on the website as well. And I think that's going to help in my area with communication. So that's all I have for this evening. Again, I thank you all for taking the time to attend. Hopefully you got something out of it. Thank you to all of our presenters this evening. I think it was some great information. And again, if you have any questions, you can reach out individually. All of these board members will be listed on the new website with a picture and a bio and their email address. So if you have any questions or you think of something, after this evening, they would be glad, I'm sure, to interact with you and provide you with some additional information. So best wishes for the remainder of the semester and academic year, and look for that email tomorrow. I'm very excited. Every one of you should be in the membership database. If you don't get an email tomorrow, email me, and I will make sure you are in there if you do not receive one, but I anticipate that you all will be receiving an email. All right. Good evening. Thank you. We'll see you.